Welcome back to the channel, guys. Donnie back at you on a rainy day here in March for this recording anyway. For the recording you're actually watching on the screen here with the installs from last spring, believe it or not. Anyway, you know, if you watch my last video, I showed you how I prep my showers with the drain, the membrane, and the screed strips going around using a board cut down, thin set on, fastened on, all that leveled out. But today I'm just going to be showing you how I like the mortar, actually pack the mortar bed. Now once I have everything laid out like I do here, it really doesn't take that long a time. I mean, I could maybe put it in the description below how much time it took, but it probably took me no more than about a half hour or so. But if you want to know the data, maybe I'll put that towards the end of the video of how long it actually took for me to go from this point on. But anyway, first thing you want to do is obviously spread some thin set around the drain there, so when you put the mud down, everything is bonded together. Using this method is a bonded method. You could just dump the mud in there and have it an unbonded mortar bed, and that works, but this method is a lot stronger when everything is bonded together versus it's floating. So when it's floating, it has to be, you know, a certain thickness to get the strength. When you bond it, you could go down pretty thin if you need to, and it's just one piece of everything is just that much stronger. But anyway, I'm gonna go through the whole process here, show you how I'm screeding it out, and go from there. So stay tuned. Okay, once I got all my mud in there, I like to take a level, and here I'm using Stabila 16-inch, I believe it is, or smaller, something like that. But I see a lot of guys using these little tiny torpedo levels, and what happens is if it's smaller than a drain, you know, the drain is somewhat pitched there, so it can affect how you measuring how you're leveling it out. So I like to use a level that goes from end to end, and then I'm just making sure I'm as level as I possibly can on going both ways. So by doing that, ensures the pitch is going to be, you know, proper going around the whole shower, because whatever the highest point of the drain is, ideally you want to level in this situation. I only could go with the 3-page drain was, you know, what the level of that was. But anytime you have a drain that's a little bit off, you always want to take your measurement for your pitch at your highest point of the drain, and then transfer that to the wall and follow that around the whole perimeter of the shower to establish your screed points for the mud. So making sure this part is level is essential. Then the rest is just kind of filling in with thin set on the base, throwing it in, and then screeding. Now this is a skill that takes time to acquire, to get good at it, but it is a really good thing to know being a tile installer. So once I get all my thin set spread, I dump my mud in here. You want to make sure you cover up the thin set within the window of the open time, which most thin sets are usually 10 to 20 minutes. The faster you get it covered, the better, so nothing skins over with the mortar. And if you can see here when I'm dumping in the mud, some of it's a little bit dry there. When I use the mortar mixer and the buckets, it doesn't always mix it 100% perfect. So what you want to do is mix it up by hand, add a little bit of water if you have to, make sure everything is mixed thoroughly before you pack it down. You don't want any dry areas. Now once I got enough mud in there, a rough height for it, You want to make sure you have a little bit more mud than you need in there. You can always scoop some out. You don't want it to be 2 feet high, but you don't want to be low, because when you're doing mortar beds, if you have a low spot, you kind of have to dig it out because it really doesn't bond to itself. You have to have a good compression with a solid thickness of it. So I'm just moving. I like to take a wood float and move it around, find my screed strips to make sure that I'm at the height, and then once I do that, I'm about a 1/2 inch or so, maybe 3/4 at the most, higher than the screed strips, and then I start packing it down. Now again, I like to use a wood float to do this part of the process. Okay, now I'm just packing it down. You don't want to do this that lightly. I see a lot of guys online that say, oh, you just pack it really lightly. No, you want to pack it down pretty damn tight multiple times in an area, and that will really hold it down. This is what gives it the strength. By packing down, it compresses it, giving it the strength you need. Okay, now once I get a good section packed down to where I want it to be, what I'm doing with the edge strips there, my screed strips on the perimeter, and then the drain, using these type of bonnet flange drains, it really helps have a place to screed to. Otherwise, you're kind of going by feel and checking it. But I have multiple straight edges. So you can use straight edges if you have this. If you're DIY, you can just get a piece of wood. Whatever you're using, you just want to make sure that it's strong, it won't flex on you, and as straight as possible. So me doing this for a living, I have the tools required. But anyway, as far as screeding it right here, I'm just basically rocking it back and forth to get it to screed it, and I'm just doing a little bit at a time. You're not trying to scoop up, an inch high and just pull it. You want to do a little bit at a time. Let the straight edge do the work. Press down firmly, but don't kill yourself. So I'm just basically pulling it, go back, pulling it, go back, pulling it, go back until I see my drain on one side and my screed strip on the other. That's how I know that I'm at the right height. And then once I have that, I just pretty much go around the whole shower, continuing this process and checking as I'm going that I'm not coming off the screed strip or the drain. If you do that, you're going to dig into it and you're going to get a low spot and you're going to have to fill. So as you do it, just take your time. Make sure you stay on the perimeter screed strip and the bonding flange drain. Screed a little by little, pack the mud in, and you should have a really good installation here. There's other methods. Again, guys will use mud around the perimeter. That works well as well. That's a higher skill, and I've done that, and that works. But if you have a spot and you dig into it, you could not be as accurate. So this, in my experience, is the most accurate way to do it, and the easiest way for me at the moment. If you guys have a better, faster way, let me know. Put in the comments below that does it well. I'm not out there to be extremely fast at this. I'm out there to be extremely well, so high quality. So anyway, this is how I do it. I hope it helps you. The rest of the video will just be showing me screeding it out for you. If you have any questions, concerns, whatever it is, put in the comment section below. Thanks for tuning in. one more thing I like to do at the end here is I like to take my wood float and just kind of drag it around. I'm not pressing hard, because if you do that, you're going to dig in, but I'm just kind of floating around to feel if there's any high spots anywhere, rub them out, making sure everything is smooth. How you finish a mortar bed really helps you the following day, and it makes a really nice smooth mortar bed. So by using a wood float going around, making sure everything is nice and smooth, and I come across with the metal flat edge trowel to compress everything in. It's really important too is that once you get done with the wood float here, if you use this method, take a steel trowel with flat edges on both ways and just press everything down in there to make sure everything is compacted in. And one other thing that I also do, which I don't believe is on camera here, is I like to take a spray bottle of water in it on my final steel trowel, application here. Is I spray the whole thing down. I'm not hosing it like you will hose your grass, but I'm just kind of mixing the whole area. And what that does, anything on the surface that might be loose, it's going to stick back to the mortar bed, and then when you take the steel trowel, it's going to really compress it and keep it locked in together. If you don't do this the next day, you might have some areas that are flaking off that are not bonded together. So that helps when you come in the next day. If you're using a liquid membrane, it's even more important to have it as smooth as possible, but nothing coming off the top layer. I like to use a sheet membrane usually, so that gives you a little bit of play if there's any imperfections with the mortar bed, with a little bit of divots that are not bonded. You're going to get filled with thinset anyway, but by getting it as smooth as possible with no divots in it, no spots that are not bonded, everything comes out that much better. And that's my final tip for this install. Hope you enjoy.